Recording in progress.
Should be directed to the council as a whole and not directed to individual council members. City Clerk, are there any registered speakers?
Mayor, there are no registered speakers.
Council will now proceed to closed session. Thank you for joining us. A report of closed session will occur after the deliberations.
I don't want to go.
It's all downhill.
I know.
I know, that's what I was gonna do too.
Okay, I'm gonna take my notes. I'm trying to conserve plants. Filled this one at City Hall when I was there earlier. Brenda gave me a new one, but this is my old bottle.
We're looking into getting refillable.
Well, I should just wait. But, I don't like to use a lot of plastic bottles. I'll be waiting. No, and I got it, because I like to reuse it some, but they say you should reuse them too, because you get bacteria from
I see you brought your laptop.
Yes, I did. It's here, my old-fashioned laptop. Can't bring it twice in a row.
What's that?
I can't bring it twice in a row.
Are we all ready?
Yes.
Good evening. I would like to call the February 2025 work-study session to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website. I would like to remind council to have their microphones turned on and positioned so the audience can hear. At this time, members of the public may only comment on an item appearing on the work-study agenda. Please adhere to the following when addressing the council. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes or less. Comments should be directed to the council as a whole and not directed to individual council members. City Clerk, are there any registered speakers?
Mayor, there are no registered speakers.
We will now move to the work-study item. Can we have a presentation from staff on item 10A?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I'll be doing the presentation. Good evening, Mayor, and members of the council and members of the public. Tonight we are here to discuss and consider the appointment of members of the Measure U Committee. As outlined in Ordinance number 1918, the committee consists of 7 members appointed by the City Council to serve 2-year terms. The committee's role is to independently review and provide advisory input regarding the city's proposed and actual expenditures of Measure U funds. Committee members serve in an advisory capacity and report their comments directly to the City Council. These positions are voluntary, and members do not receive a city stipend. As of March 11, 2025, the terms of 7 current committee members will expire. 6 of the current members, George Dick Clark, George Schaefer, Delegia Silva, Kayla Kane, Tammy Chenault, and Mark Collins. These individuals have all expressed interest in continuing their service for a reappointment. Committee member Norm Kairos has chosen not to seek reappointment. To fill these positions, the city clerk's office conducted an open application process soliciting candidates through social media, the city update newsletter, and the press enterprise. As a result, we received 3 additional applications for qualified community members: Stephanie Ali, Juan Chiquito, and Jesse Felix. In total, there are 9 applicants for consideration. And at this time, the City Council may review and discuss the applicants. The Council has the option to conduct a brief public interview, suggested questions: why are you interested in serving on the Measure U Citizen Oversight Committee? And how long have you lived in the city or sphere of influence? Additional questions may be considered at the council's discretion. And then following the discussion and any interviews, the City Council may proceed with processing a vote of appointing 7 members to serve on the Measure U Committee for a 2-year term from March 11, 2025 to March 11, 2027. To simplify the process, I created a vote sheet, council, at the dais, so you may select up to 7 applicants after the interviews, and then I will tally the votes and announce applicants should you choose 7. At this time, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor, and council for discussion and your conversation about the candidates.
Are there any questions on how we are proceeding?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes.
Were there any other potential applicants that had reached out to you to participate in this process?
Yes, it's a 2-part answer. We actually had a couple others that were unqualified candidates, so we did actually receive, I believe, a total of 11 candidates. To my recollection, one of those was an unregistered voter, so they were disqualified. And the other, I believe, did not live in the sphere of influence or in the city limits. And then since the posting of the agenda, I've had 2 candidates, potential candidates, reach out to me, to my office to submit an application, but I have yet to receive an application from those candidates.
Would you have accepted the application even though it came in after the posting of the agenda?
I would have notified you to let you know that there's new applications on file. We've done that in the past. However, we did essentially close the receiving of all applications when we processed the staff report so that I could provide that to the city manager for review.
Was that posted on the city's website of the date it was gonna close?
No, no date was specific.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually try to promote that we're receiving applications in the city clerk's office throughout the year so that we can keep their applications on file for at least 2 years, and they may be considered for multiple boards and commissions. The application has selection for different boxes for different committees, and so when they provide us with the application, we hold on to it for 2 years for processing.
Yeah, I would be interested in the two that hadn't submitted, but again, if there was a deadline for this agenda, I think it would have been beneficial to any potential applicants. So
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. Are we seeking representation from all districts for this committee, or does it matter?
It's not a requirement under this committee.
Not a requirement, okay. But should we have representation from all cities?
It's suggested, I think.
It's
It's
suggested.
suggested
Yes.
under the protocols. This particular committee is a little slightly different in that it has 7 board members. And then,
'Cause we have an
specific
overwhelming amount of District 1 here.
Right,
No
there's,
District 2,
there's 5 in District 1,
Yeah.
so.
and I think we should have representation from all districts.
I do
At
too.
least that's my thought.
right.
Could we table this and reach out to those other 2 applicants and bring it back at a future meeting?
It's definitely at the discretion of the council. I do
I would
want to
agree with that.
just provide that we did invite 9 of the individuals, and I believe 7 or 8 are in the room at this moment.
Is there anything pending that needs to go to the Measure U committee? Anything that would be held up by continuing this item?
Not at this time.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue this workshop to our next scheduled meeting on March 11th and direct the city clerk to reach out to the applicants that showed interest, and maybe if we can put something up on our website. I know what the staff report needs to go out by, what, next Wednesday? So, but if we can do a push on that?
I'll second.
Yeah, I would recommend that Tuesday would be the last cutoff day, as we have to verify with the registrar of voters. So we need at least 1 day in advance.
I'll second.
City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Yeah, Mayor, can we just clarify if we would like to reach out to additional, to open up, to receive additional applications in that motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick. I didn't catch the second. I apologize.
I second it.
Second by Councilmember Males. We're going to do a roll call. Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodge.
Yes.
Councilmember Males.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0 to table this item and solicit for additional applications until Tuesday.
We will now adjourn the work-study session and
following
have a
Tuesday.
pause.
Can we go back into closed session?
Mayor,
Yes.
we can recess back into closed session,
Let's do that.
if that would be a better use of our time.
Yes, yes, we can. So I have to announce that.
Just say we're going back to closed session. Probably.
We are postponing it, so you can leave now. It-
They were asking what time, and I guess she's gonna.
Probably fine, but we'll come talk to you.
Yeah.
We are now going to go back into our closed session for some unfinished business at 5:13. Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call the February 25th, 2025 regular City Council meeting to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website. I would like to remind council to have their microphones turned on and positioned so the audience can hear. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Krupa.
Here.
Councilmember Lodge.
Here.
Councilmember Males.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick.
Here.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
All members are present.
The invocation will be by Pastor Christian Tikas, after which Council Member Joe Males will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Please bow your heads. Father, we just come to you today with one heart, one mind. We pray that your wisdom and your knowledge would be what guides us in decisions for the city, Father. Keep us unified with that mindset for the greater good, Father. And we allow that your decisions be set forth in today's city planning meeting, city council meeting. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Can you please face the flag and put your right hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move to the City Attorney's report from closed session. City Attorney, can we get a report out?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no reportable action from this evening's closed session.
Thank you, City Attorney. We will now move to communications from the public. There is a 3-minute per person time limit for all general public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak, including council members and staff, need to be recognized by the mayor before speaking. Please state your name and item you are commenting on before speaking. We will take public comment for items listed on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. The only speaker we have for items on the agenda is Sharon Morris for item 21A.
Hello, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, and staff. Voices for Children is the court-appointed Special Advocate, or CASA, program for Riverside County. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Riverside County Superior Court to recruit, train, and support very special community members who are assigned to a child in foster care by one of our 5 juvenile court judges. They visit with the child once a month and write a report every 6 months for the judge who oversees their hearings. They let the court know what the child needs to thrive rather than just exist in foster care. CASAs are generally the only person in the child's life who is not paid, and that means a lot to the youth. It costs Voices for Children $2,000 to support a CASA volunteer for a year. And so far, this fiscal year that ends June 30th, we have served 76 children who were removed from their homes because of abuse, abandonment, and neglect from the city of Hemet. We have another 41 on our wait list waiting for a CASA. I want to tell you about one of those. CASA Pauline has been with her case child, a 13-year-old boy from Hemet, for about 9 months now, and has proven that being a consistent adult in his life makes a difference. He was whipped and beaten and locked in a closet before he came into foster care. Pauline has followed him through multiple placements from Beaumont to Chula Vista and now Victorville. She lives in Temecula. Pauline has gone and physically been present during his transition so he doesn't feel alone. She saw him recently, and she told us that after dinner, he gave her a big hug, and he's typically not affectionate. And he told her that he's grateful for her and that she feels like a mother figure to him. Pauline thanked him and said that she just wants him to be happy, and he said he's happy to have her in his life. I want to thank each and every one of you for making a difference in these children's lives by giving funding through the CDBG grant to Voices for Children. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We will take public comment for items not listed on the agenda.
Do we have more?
Yes, Mayor. We have one item for items not on the agenda. Cassie Stetham? Stetham.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today about a pressing challenge that is holding Hemet back from its full potential, a challenge that affects our community's safety, reputation, and economic future. I want to be candid about what many of us have experienced on our daily commutes. Driving down the street on any given day, I've seen people actively using drugs in plain sight. I've witnessed a man writhing on the sidewalk in a drug-induced psychosis, observed two men fighting in a parking lot over stolen goods outside Burlington. I've seen a couple doing drugs in the bathroom of a sushi restaurant while I was picking up my order, and my dash cam captured a man in a drug-induced haze, unable to stand still in the parking lot of PetSmart. Most of these things happened over just 1 week, painting a distressing picture of the challenges we face. Our current situation has significant consequences. These visible signs of drug use and related disturbances do more than cause immediate concern. They shape how Hemet is perceived. Currently, Hemet is increasingly seen as a place where safety is compromised and where drug addiction overshadows the community's potential. This negative reputation makes it difficult for us to attract families, businesses, and new investments. When the mere mention of Hemet evokes images of disorder and safety concerns, our residents lose pride in where they live and potential new residents look elsewhere. Our city has tremendous opportunities, especially with new housing developments on the horizon, to become a safe, walkable community where property values rise and local businesses thrive. However, we cannot realize this vision with our streets, while our streets and public spaces are overrun with the effects of unaddressed drug addiction, mental illness, and homelessness. It seems counterintuitive to think of creating new shopping centers or investing in economic development programs without first addressing the glaring issue at hand. We can learn from other cities that have successfully tackled similar issues through comprehensive, evidence-based strategies like housing first initiatives, community policing and diversion programs, and employment and social reintegration programs. The current state of our streets, where drug use is visible and safety is compromised, is unacceptable. These challenges tarnish Hemet's reputation and hinder our ability to grow into a thriving community. However, with targeted interventions and a commitment to community well-being, we can transform Hemet into a city that everyone is proud to live in. I urge you to work with us to make Hemet a safer, more vibrant, and economically thriving community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. We will now move to the presentation. For our presentation this evening, I will be presenting the Riverside County Arts and Culture Month proclamation to Michael Yeager and Earl McNeese. Gentlemen, would you please come up front? Good evening. It was a great pleasure that I get to present this to you this evening. I've known these gentlemen for a little while, but I've known their work for even longer, and they are two amazing men who do beautiful art in our community. This is a proclamation for the Riverside County Arts and Culture Month. Whereas Riverside County has emerged as a leader in arts and culture, and whereas the encouragement of local artists and the steadfast support of the arts community are deemed essential for elevating the quality of life in Riverside County and fostering economic stimulation through tourism, arts, and innovation. Whereas our vibrant arts and culture scene has been cultivated through extensive partnerships with local nonprofits, private corporations, cities, and strategic allies, collectively contributing to Riverside County's leadership in the arts. And whereas a cultural landscape that bolsters the arts and culture community in Riverside County is crucial
not only for promoting tourism throughout the county, but also for enriching the lives of our residents, and the County of Riverside values a dynamic atmosphere that fosters innovation, education, and outreach within the local art community, recognizing these as vital components for the success, health, and advancement of our county. Now therefore, I, Jackie Peterson, Mayor of the City of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2025 as Riverside County Arts and Cultural Month, and encourage the arts in our communities and in the region. Presented February 25th, 2025, signed by myself and the rest of our city council. Congratulations, and thank you for all your contributions to our local community. These gentlemen are very humble, and then they're like, oh, do we have to speak? But I want them to just say a little bit about what they do and their participation in the Hemet Valley Association, the Arts Association. So I will give it to Michael.
All right, yeah, years ago we moved into Hemet in 2003 when Four Seasons first opened. We were a couple of the first people that moved in. Then we retired, and we ended up trying to figure out what to do after you're retired. We didn't want to sit around. So we joined the Hemet Valley Art Association. I've never painted in my life or did anything, so the wonderful teachers that they have there just taught me how to do watercolors, taught me how to do beading, taught me how to do gourds. So I kind of fell into it. Earl was taught how to do photography. He did it as a kid, but he developed his mind and went on, and now he's winning all kinds of best in shows in different parts in Redlands and here and stuff. And now I also belong to Valley Quilters Guild, 90 women and me. But it's wonderful. We just had a show over at Valleywide, and I had 3 quilts entered, and I won 4 ribbons. So, yeah, it was kind of nice. But I just want to tell everybody, try to get out there where the nonprofits are. We do it for the kids. We give scholarships to the kids through the Art Association. We do classes, and then through the Quilt Guild, we also give they're $1,500 scholarships to 4 students, and then this year we're going to raise it to 5, and it's for textiles, and we give it to boys and girls. So, and the Evening of Art now will be here in this room on March 22nd from 6 to 9, and a lot of your local artists will be showing a lot of their art. And we'll also have a couple little boutique vendors, and even the Quilt Guild will be here showing their opportunity quilt for 2026.
And he said he was shy. Very nice. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. We will now move to the consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon simultaneously unless requested by an individual council member for separate consideration. Are there any council members that would like to pull any consent items for separate consideration?
I just want to clarify that the corrections had been made to 20B. Yes. Okay, then I have nothing.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve the consent items?
Mayor, before the motion, I did want to note that we are recommending a small amendment to 20F, and that's simply to the title of the resolution. It's not to the actual operative language of the resolution. 20F adds the community development director to the list of positions subject to the at-will group resolution. In addition to doing that, there's language in the resolution that would automatically add any job classification that the council approves as at-will to that group. And so the city clerk, I believe, had language for the title. Are you able to read that, Mr. Clerk?
It would read adding all future at-will employees.
So that would be added to the title, just clarifying that all future at-will employees would be subject to that resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to approve all items I'd like to make a motion to approve all items in the consent calendar for approval.
I'll second that.
City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion by Councilmember Mails, second by Councilmember Lodge. We're going to do a roll call. Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodge.
Yes.
Councilmember Mails.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
We will now move to the discussion action items. Can we have a presentation from staff on discussion item 21A?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Kalina Beasley, Accounting Manager, and I will be presenting this topic. I'm going to actually use my laptop, so allow me just a minute here to get set up.
Yes.
IT, I may need a little help. I'm screen sharing, but I don't see it. Oh,
There it
there. Oh, there it is. Okay, here we are. Okay. Not sure. Okay. Good evening. Tonight we have a presentation regarding the consideration of allocations for 2025 Program Year Community Development Block Grants. The Community Development Block Grant, or as we'll refer to it tonight as CDBG, is a program administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, which provides annual grants on a formula basis to states, cities, and counties to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing and a suitable living environment, and by expanding economic opportunities, principally for low and moderate income persons. The program aligns with the council-adopted objectives of quality of life. CDBG's funding goals focus on improving the quality of life for low and moderate income persons. Partnership and collaboration. CDBG's emphasis on consolidated planning expands and strengthens partnerships among all levels of government and the private sector in enhancing community development. Community engagement. CDBG's flexibility empowers people and communities to design and implement strategies tailored to our own needs and priorities. For this year, we received 26 applications for the next program year, 2025, which starts July 1st, 2025. 6 of the applications were for city operations, 19 applications were from nonprofit agencies, and 1 application was from a for-profit agency. There is a planning and administration component of the CDBG program, and for that, there is no requirement for an application. HUD has not released the final allocation numbers for program year 2025, so we are going off of an estimate for program year 2024 that we are currently in. We received $885,299, so we are using that same estimate of $885,000 for next year's allocation. When the final numbers are released from HUD later this year, in around, I think, like May or June, we will have to reallocate some of the money, depending on if the allocation actually increases or decreases. And in the staff report, we have proposals on how to decrease or increase projects depending on what the final allocation will be. We do have rollover funding from prior years of $544,700. We don't normally have this high of amount of a carry forward, but there are some special circumstances that happened recently that made that number pretty high, and I'll go over that in the next slide. So for the 2025 year, we actually have a total amount to allocate of about $1.4 million. So the carry forward from prior years, I just wanted to clarify that this money was originally allocated to programs. So each year we allocate our full amount from HUD. But in the course of a year, some projects get canceled, some don't use all of their funding. Some of our programs have, through the audit process with HUD, have been determined that we needed to return some of the funding. And when we do that, the funding just doesn't, we still are eligible for that money. It just goes back into the what we call the holding account, to where it can carry forward to future years and we can reallocate it to other projects. So we never lose any money. It's just, it takes a little time to then be reallocated in a future year. There is a stipulation on this carry forward amount though. It cannot be used for other public services or for administration. So when funds carry over from year to year, you have to use it for an economic development project or a housing and public facility project. So you see before you some detail about what makes up that $544,000. So in the last couple of years, we had some shifts in our projects, specifically with code enforcement. Our CDBG representative advised that we no longer fund code enforcement through the program because of the reporting requirements and different things. At that time, we had already allocated $167,000 in the current program year for the code enforcement. We have canceled that project, so that money is going to roll over into next year, 2025. So that makes up a good chunk of the 544. We also had the rental property rehabilitation program, which we also discovered that through the audit process that HUD had some issues with that program, and there was actually a staff report that came before you, I think maybe 2 meetings ago, about returning $99,000 to making that payment back to HUD. So that's what makes up part of this carry forward money, is that $99,000 we returned back to the holding account, the general pot of funds, plus unused funds of $84,000 for the year. We also again had some code enforcement unused funds from last year when we had stopped utilizing the CDBG funds for code enforcement salaries. And then we just had a little bit left over from program year 2022 from projects that had completed and hadn't used all their funds. So here is a breakdown of how the allocation method is between the 3 different categories of projects. So the first thing is that HUD allows 20% of your current year's allocation, which is that $885,000. You can use 20% of that maximum to fund your administration. So typically we have City of Hemet administration, which funds part of a salary of a finance position. And it also goes towards consultants, office supplies, notices and advertising, and any kind of administration expense we have for the program. The remaining part of the administration goes towards Fair Housing Council, which is pretty much a requirement of the program. The next category is public services. So CDBG allows 15% of the $885,000 to go towards public services. So this is the portion where a lot of the nonprofit agencies who apply for funding, they all have to share in this small little 15%. So naturally, we do receive a lot of requests for funding in this category, but this category also has the most limited funds that we can allocate. The third category, economic development or housing and public facilities, there is no cap on this. You could spend your whole allocation on this category. This is the main priority for HUD, is economic development and also improving the housing or public facilities that low and moderate income people use. This is their main priority, so you can use as much funding as you want on these projects. So as you can see, kind of in the middle of the screen there, out of our $885,000, we can spend up to $177,000 for administration, up to $132,700 for public services, and we can use any amount for that third category in green there. Including our rollover funding, again, we have our total of $1.4 million that we can allocate for next year. So again, the administration allocation, again, that's City of Hemet administration, and then fair housing. So we are able with that 20% to fully fund what fair housing is requesting, and then also cover portions of our administration in the finance department. For public services, we did receive several applications totaling around $974,000 of funding requested. We can only fund $132,700 of that. So when we met with the ad hoc committee, the committee chose to prioritize a couple priorities. One was that if a organization receives a lot of funding from other organizations or governments, we tried to make those a lower priority and make agencies with not a lot of other resources as more of a higher priority. And also, the committee chose to prioritize youth-based services because that seemed to be a goal of the council. So once it was determined which agencies should receive funding, it was pretty much split across the board. I know it's a little hard to see, but under the ad hoc allocation column, it is split evenly across the groups, with the exception, we try to round to a nearest 100 so that budgets are a little easier for everybody. So there is just a little bit of extra funding from the rounding that we applied to the police explorers and the fire explorers for the equipment trailer. But otherwise, it's pretty much split between 14 different public services. Again, with the priority of youth-based. For the economic development and the public housing allocation, we did receive 6 applications, 3 from City of Hemet, 2 from Valleywide, and 1 from an organization called Upwards Care. The committee decided to fund 5 of the 6, or is recommending to fund 5 of the 6 applications. There is a lot of funding, like I said, this year because of the rollover, so it is a great opportunity. The biggest application was from the Senior and ADA Home Rehab Program, which is administered by the City of Hemet Community Development Department. There's, I believe it was around 279, in the high 200s applicants on the waiting list for this program, which is several years out. So this program would fund a lot of applicants on that list. I believe we do about $10,000 per applicant. So with funding $570,000, we would be able to help out 57 people. And normally in a given year, in prior years, we've only been able to do maybe 10 to 12 per year. In addition, there are 2 new applications, again from the Community Development Department under Economic Development. One is for a facade improvement program, and one is for an entrepreneurship and small business grant program. Because of the rollover funding that we had this year, there was the opportunity to give more to the small business grant than was requested. And there are two applications from Valley-wide to update two of their parks, Jerry Searle Park and Bill Gray Park, to help with the accessibility of their parking lots and slopes and restrooms. So with that, I am going to turn it over to discussion. I do have the spreadsheet available on my laptop. So I know that Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick was able to go through detail of each of the applications. So I think she might have some recommended changes possibly. And so I do have our spreadsheet that I'm going to bring up, and we can make some changes as we discuss. And if you have any recommendations, I just want to note the timeline for this is a little tight this year. Every year we have to submit an annual action plan where this allocation is part of that plan. In addition, every 5 years we have to submit a consolidated plan. And so this year happens to be the start of a new consolidated plan. So we have both those plans together, which our consultant is helping us develop and draft. And we will be putting it out for a 30-day public comment period about mid-March. And the plan, including the allocation, will come to you for consideration, is scheduled to be on the April 22nd meeting, so that we can meet the HUD deadline of May 15th to submit the finalized plan.
Is that all then? You're
Yes,
done?
sorry,
Okay,
yes.
okay. I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to make sure you were done. So thank you for your presentation. Very, very good. Council, do you have comments, questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
One of the questions is concerning Valley Community Pantry. They thought they were going to go out of business, so they didn't fill out the form to get a grant. Is there any way we can give them the $9,400 out of another account somewhere that we might have that? Because it's, $9,400 is not really that much coming from the city, but it's a lot for them because they deal with only seniors and veterans, and our senior population needs the help and our veterans need the help. So that's number one. Number two is the City of Hemet Library Security Services. In my mind, I didn't think that $9,400 was sufficient for a $72,800 request. I also believe the city should pay for the security for the library to make sure that all our library personnel are safe. And I think it should come out of one of our funds that we do have money in. And so I'm hoping that we can find a way to make sure that the library has security for whatever amount they need it here for, because we do have people in the streets that sometimes don't care where they go to interrupt people's daily activities, and I wouldn't want to see anything happen at the library. Thank you.
City Manager, can you comment to the extra pot of money that Councilmember Males was referring to? We discussed this briefly, and you said there might be a way that we could fund the pantry especially, and perhaps the library?
So the City Council's appropriated $100,000 for nonprofit grant programs. This year, we have not developed the final criteria to present to you. You could tap a portion of that allocation, but just be clear that those are general funds. If you were interested in providing assistance, there would be a delay if there was council interest in awaiting all of the nonprofit grant applications. And I'm certain that there will be additional demand, just as we have here, additional demand beyond the available $100,000. So no, down the road, if we're working with 90, for example, there will likely be 3 times or more application dollars requested than what would actually be available. But yes, we can, with your direction, we can allocate general fund dollars toward additional needs within the community.
Thank you.
So do we make a motion to do
Council members asking if we could make a motion, or if that would
not
be
on
a
the
separate
agenda.
item in the future.
It's not on the agenda.
So I think that because that wasn't an agendized item, I think it'd be probably better to agendize that for a future item
Okay.
and have the discussion direction at that point.
So can we put that
Thank
on the future agenda?
We
Okay,
will.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kendrick?
I just wanted to say thank you, Kalina. You did capture everything that occurred in our ad hoc meeting, again with a focus on youth programs and then increasing the senior home repair. Just for transparency, I did not participate in the Bill Gray Park accessibility project since it's right around the corner from my house. This is always hard every year to pick. There's just so many worthy charities, but I think you captured it all, Kalina. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes. Good job. And it's always extremely difficult to divvy up the money, but I think you did it in a very creative way this year. However, could you go through like by line item and kind of give us an explanation of what multiple programs means? And some of these I'm very familiar with, others I'm not familiar with. And if they're new to the Valley, I think we need to know what they're doing and the good work that they are doing. So, I mean, just briefly, I know what Black Voices of the Valley is. I was there Saturday. But what type of multiple programs are we contributing to? Is it the scholarships? Is it the, what exactly?
Yes, so we did do a little write-up. There are some, notably at the top, that did have a lot of things that they wanted to try to do with those larger allocations, and unfortunately, just because we are limited in that category, we aren't able to accommodate. But for, in particular, Black Voices of the Valley, for the $175,000, they listed projects that aim to improve the lives of low and moderate income individuals by addressing food insecurity and education. So some of the projects they listed were an annual turkey drive to provide over 600 low-income families with Thanksgiving meals, a kidspreneurship program to equip 50 youth with entrepreneurial skills and host a business showcase, a Juneteenth celebration to engage 500 community members and feature 25 African American vendors, a scholarship program to award low-income students $2,500 scholarships to support higher education, and then also a Night of Black Excellence Gala to raise funds and celebrate community achievements with 200 attendees. So that's what the $175,000 is. With $9,400, obviously they'd have to really pick and choose from that list what they would want to fund for that. For the Volunteers for Public Service.
I don't think I've heard of that group before.
I'm sorry.
I haven't heard of that group before.
Yeah, I think this is the one, Kara, that had a similar address as the Black Voices of the Valley. So I think it is related to Black Voices of the Valley, just under a different name. But we think, maybe. I don't have the full application in front of me, but just a little, they're kind of have a lot of the same thing, various projects of a turkey drive, a backpack drive, toys for kids at Christmas, and weekly food drives. But I think, so we'd have to pull up, I don't know if you brought the big binder with you, Carol, or not.
It's in my car. I can go get it.
Oh, no, that's okay. I can bring the application up if you'd like to spend a few minutes. I can more on it.
If next time we do this, I'm thoroughly confident in what the ad hoc has recommended on this. Just if we could have a little bit more detail in the staff report when we get it.
Yes.
There's two of them. What is Mrs. B's table?
Yes, so let me see. So that organization seeks to provide financial education, job readiness, and holistic support services. So they're planning to hold financial literacy classes, job readiness workshops, youth sponsorship to attend aftercare and summer programs, life skills workshops, transportation services, and technology support.
Okay. I'm just going to ask about two more because I
Yes.
was not familiar with exactly what they were doing. Actually, I'm familiar with Sheltered Pathways, but where is Ember Hall? Is that in Hemet? That's for emergency shelter for inclement weather?
I do not know offhand. I can look it up really quick if you would like, or we can get back to you. Either way.
Where's Ember Hall?
Do you guys remember where Ember Hall is?
I believe that is Carol's nonprofit, and is that the one with that?
Sheltered Pathways?
Is that, where is it? Kristen, yeah, that's Carol's nonprofit, and she helps with homeless, and she helps when,
I know what they
feed
do,
'em.
but I'm saying is Ember
Well,
Hall in
well, she
Hemet?
works out of Hemet, as far as I know.
It's not
but
in
I-
Hemet.
It was a cold weather shelter that they were hosting back in December, and so.
But not in the valley?
Not anymore.
not in
Yeah,
the-
it's for emergency shelter, basically, when in inclement weather.
Wasn't it held at the Salvation Army here in town?
They tried to hold it at the Salvation Army, but there was another location, I forget where, in San Jacinto, that they did let them use
Okay.
the location for that.
So that's gotta go. It's not in town.
So clarify, Ember Hall is not in the valley? It is in the valley, but it's in San Jacinto. And San Jacinto gets CDBG funding also,
I believe so, but the organization is based out of
is
Hemet.
based in Hemet.
Yes.
And I can't deny that they're not doing good work. I
Sure.
mean, that's part of it. I just would like more clarification on where our dollars are going. So, okay. Appreciate that. You got a question or comment on? Llamas Housing, I know they build housing, but what are they getting on this one?
Yes, so they propose to provide services to individuals and families experiencing homelessness. They would like to offer navigation services, so offer housing solutions, including transitional, emergency, and permanent, and to make connections with third-party vendors. They're also planning to do community engagement, so with the 4th annual Dia de los Muertos. They also would like to do partnership, collaborate with local organizations to provide comprehensive support, and then also workforce development. They partner with workforce development to provide vocational training and employment opportunities. So again, that's for the $40,000, so they would have to limit, maybe just pick one of those
Okay.
with the $9,400.
Okay. And the rest of those, I think I know what they all do, and they all do good work. But I would ask, and maybe this is a question also for Christian, that all of these nonprofits that are getting money from CDBG to do the good outreach to homeless and street people and children and all of that, do they all work with through the continuum of care? And are they all like on the same page so that they're not duplicating efforts? And this may be a reach,
So the ones
but
that we
it's still-
discussed right now are all part of the COC.
Okay, all
Okay,
right.
Sonia Lamas, Sheltered
Right.
Pathways, yeah, they're all
Right.
part of the COC.
And they all work kind of through CityNet and Valley Restart to make
Correct.
sure that we're all on the same page, heading toward the same solution?
Yes, they all collaborate together.
Okay, that's the only thing I wanted to
And
make
it-
sure of.
Most of them also come to the pastors and nonprofits meeting held on the third Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So they're usually in the meetings, collaborating.
Good.
Any other questions or comments?
Actually, one comment, when you brought up Valley Pantry, that since there is more money being given to the entrepreneurial area, why can't we take $9,400 away from that $570 and give it to the Valley Pantry? Sorry.
I don't, it is, with CDBG monies, it is,
Two different.
Is that
a
in
different category.
That's a different category?
Yes, so
Okay.
we're not able to do that.
Question
But
answered.
this grant, like the city manager said, you know, we could take it from the general fund grant allocation if you would like. And since we gave more to the grants through CDBG, right, that could help offset the reduction in the grants through general fund.
Okay. That's all I have.
Can I have a motion to approve this item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second?
You should second. You were on committee.
I'll second.
I already did.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mayo, second by Councilmember Krupa. We're going to do a roll call. Councilmember Krupa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodge.
Yes.
Councilmember Mails.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
We will now move on to 21B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, approving a media access policy for disaster areas. Staff, may I have a report on this item?
Yes, Mayor. Stephen Graham Pacifico, your city attorney. I will be presenting the policy, the media access policy for disaster areas. The city currently does not have in place a written policy regarding media access to disaster areas. Under general constitutional principles and also under California state law, the city is obligated to allow media access to certain disaster areas with specified limitations. Those limitations could include when the media's presence would actually cause a health and safety hazard, either to people who are being evacuated or first responder personnel. One of the other exceptions is when we have a potential active crime scene. This policy came about because we recently had a fire incident near Stony Mountain. We had suspected arson involving that incident, and we had an individual who identified himself as a member of the media. He did not have any credentials issued either by a press agency, by another jurisdiction, certainly not by the city because we don't issue those yet. And the city staff had a challenge with whether or not that individual should be permitted into the disaster area. Of principal concern at the time was that it was also being viewed as an active crime scene because of the suspected arson. So, you know, one of the things that we always try to do is, you know, when we do have an incident that comes up, we always want to be better. We want to have a clear, well thought out policy. The one you have in front of you is a draft that attempts to balance the city's legal obligations under statutory law with its constitutional principles, including the First Amendment, operation of the free press, with the practical realities of having individuals in disaster areas during ongoing disasters, which pose a health and safety threat not only to those individuals, but to members of the public who are being evacuated, safety personnel who may have to go and rescue them if something goes wrong, as well as the potential for interference if we did have an ongoing investigation. So we attempted to be very thoughtful and balance those issues. We did receive I think, a well-intentioned letter from a member of the Los Angeles Press Club criticizing the policy. I reviewed that email. I unfortunately did not have an opportunity to talk with that individual. They called City Hall at a day when we did not have office hours. And so this is not an urgent matter. We do not need this policy in place tonight, to answer a question that the council has asked in previous contexts. So my recommendation has changed from adopting the policy tonight to having a discussion with the council to hear what the council's concerns are regarding these incidents, Any member of the public, I guess we didn't have public comment on this particular item. But then also to continue the item for such time, I'd like to reach out to the Los Angeles Press Club. I do think that press access is very valuable, because that's how we get word out to the public that there is an incident going on. I don't think that the city has any desire to suppress the legitimate exercise of the press. I think we're looking at this primarily from a safety standpoint, and from a preservation of evidence if we had an active crime scene. So I'd like to hear what their concerns are and see if we can address them. One of the things that we added, and you'll know this is a little bit of a work in progress. If you look at section 5G, which is on page 603 of your packet, you'll see recognition of other agencies, and then it says insert. And this is one of our potential, perhaps, responses to the concern that's being raised by the Los Angeles Press Club, which is, I think it's reasonable to say that it might be a burden on a member of the press operating out of LA to go through the credentialing process here in Hemet on the off chance that we may have a disaster worth covering in this media market, right? And so one of our thoughts was we would be willing to accept the credentials issued by any other public agency in Riverside County, or perhaps even further afield, to sort of have the ability of them to go through a process maybe closer to home, and maybe have a credential that's that can be useful in a wider context. So that's the report, and again, the recommendation is to continue this item until such time as we have an opportunity to at least have that conversation and see if there are changes that would allay their concerns, because I do take those concerns seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I understand our police officers' concerns. We have all these wannabe news agencies or groups that want to be on site when something happens, and then a lot of times they give misleading information, like the fires we had over here by Seven Hills. They stated that all Seven Hills has been evacuated, scared the people of Seven Hills, and they thought, oh my God, no one told me. And they're calling me on my phone, on my city phone, and saying, what's going on? I go, no, we're not being evacuated. Just the housing along the ridge line right there where the fire is. They have been asked to leave just in case, but not Seven Hills itself. So I understand what we're wanting here. We want legitimate news people. I mean, these guys fight amongst each other out in the street out there, and they videotape it and put it on Facebook and all the other sites, and they just want our police just want legitimate people out there doing the job instead of just anybody that has a phone.
And Councilmember, I think that kind of gets to a little bit of the crux of the matter. Under California law, under the First Amendment, the free press certainly has a right to operate. There are some limits on that when we have to balance that against other issues.
Right.
And one of the things that, with social media, the recent explosion in the influencers and things like that is, looking towards, you don't have the news van with the big logo on the side anymore.
Yeah.
And you can be reasonably confident this is a professional organization. They're adhering to a certain standard of journalistic ethics. They have training. They know how to keep themselves safe. You can't rely on that anymore. We have to be very hesitant about coming from a direction where we're attempting to impose a content-based restriction on how the news is being reported, right? We can't limit the access for the media conditioned upon them reporting what we tell them to report, right? It's important that they have that ability to put their message out. But I think you're right, and that is, there certainly is a additional consideration in the city's mind that when we're having reporting done on a disaster, this is a situation where seconds count, minutes count. it's important that people get accurate information, that we are not facilitating the spread of misinformation
Yeah.
during a critical time like that. So that may be something that we bring up with the press club, see what their thoughts are on it. You know, I'm sure they're gonna be very zealous about protecting, the journalist's right to report as they see fit.
So,
But I think that there should be a recognition of our concern and see if there's a way to
so
address
if
it.
someone has a phone and says, well, I'm a journalist, that's it? Shouldn't they have credentials to prove they're a journalist?
Well, and I think that's what we're trying to balance here. You know, we do recognize the valuable role of the media in this, and we do recognize the changing times here. However, you know, this is not a free-for-all. You know, we don't need looky-loos. We don't need people who are untrained. We don't need people who are going to be dangerous to themselves or others.
That's what it's become here, and that's why they want to put
And I think that's why we want to have that
some
conversation.
restrictions on
And
it.
so I think it would be valuable, you know, we have been approached by this organization. They are a legitimate bona fide organization. They represent valuable interests. I think that it is valuable to have that exchange of views with them and see if there is a way to address their concerns.
All right.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, there were two, at least I received two communications on this.
I received one.
One from Mr. Rosenberg and one from Adam, nope, take that back. Yeah, Rosenberg with the media access policy or media alliance, and then the one from Los Angeles.
Okay, well, I think I'll take, if that, the second, so I got the one from the LA Press Club.
but I don't have
I did not get the other one. If you could send that to me, of course, I'd be happy to reach out to that group as well.
The second one came off city website,
Oh.
City of Hemet. So the city clerk can send it to you, I believe.
Okay, so maybe this was a written comment that was filed?
Right.
Okay, then we will certainly reach out to that group as
Yeah.
well, because I do think that it's valuable to get that input.
I think it is too, but I do have a question. When you mentioned credentialed news media, is news media personnel required to wear a credentialed badge when they go to a disaster area?
So under the policy that we are looking at here, we are issuing the identification card, and they would have to present it in order to cross the lines. But we could add a requirement that it needs to be visible at all times as well. I don't think we had that specific language in there.
Well, what I'm getting at is that from the major newspapers and the major TV channels, do their people wear credentialed passes? I mean, when you go someplace, I always see people with press pass.
I think it depends on the organization. I think that there are a lot of organizations that do that. And again, you know, the world's changing,
Yeah.
right? You know, we used to have these sort of organizations and understandings. You could rely on a press pass issued by the LA Times. You would know that this person's trained, and it's going to be okay. I think we're trying to roll with the times. We have a lot of freelance journalists, especially in the Inland Empire.
At least they call themselves journalists.
Yes, and you know, there are a lot who they engage in, for example, video journalism.
Yes.
Where, you know, they go out, they take video footage, they then sell it or provide that to you know, television media in the local LA market. You know, they're not going to send the news van out for something necessarily, but if they get the video, they'll run a story on it. And so, you know, freelance and independent journalists, they're covered under the existing policy. Maybe that's something that we need to, you know, discuss with our media partners. But I think to your point, maybe to Councilmember Mail's point, is there's a line here at which, you know, I think that the city could reasonably say, you're not a member of the media. And so I think that's where we want to get the policy at. And I think that we can have that conversation.
I think that's a really good idea.
And that would be not recognized by the city of Hemet as a.
And again, this is only for disaster areas.
Yeah.
So, you know, cities fair game, right?
Right, okay.
You know, 99.9% of the time. we are talking about when we are having a major incident. We have a hill on fire. We have residents who are trying to evacuate. We have firefighters from our organization, from other organizations who are trying to battle the fire, keep people safe, not introduce new people into the situation who are going to potentially need to be rescued. And so, we are talking about a very limited, I'm going to use this phrase, very specific, time, place, manner restriction, because, frankly, the situation warrants it. We have to be cognizant of the constitutional principles. We have to be cognizant of, there is state law on this point that we want to make sure that we are following. And so we just have to balance it.
Just a general pooling, media pool area.
That's one of the things that we do include in the policy is that, in certain circumstances, it's appropriate to either have a media staging area, so an area where the media can go and report on the newsworthy events, but where, they are safe, they are not interfering in rescue operations, interfering with evacuations. And then in other circumstances when, having too many individuals in an area would pose a safety hazard, we do have the ability to have a pool.
That's what I was gonna say.
And how the pool works is the journalists who are there agree amongst themselves who will go, and then that person who is designated shares their information with everyone else. And that's the primary methodology. We let them choose amongst themselves who's going to go. If they cannot agree, then the city picks. And then under the requirement that individual share footage, photographs, information with all the other outlets so that it can be freely accessible.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments, questions? Can I have a motion on this item?
To continue it?
And that item would be to continue to a date uncertain to give me an opportunity to meet with these two groups.
I'll make a motion to continue this to a date uncertain.
I'll second that.
City Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Lodge. We're going to do a roll call. Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodge?
Yes.
Councilmember Males?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
We will now move on to City Council and staff reports. And I will start at the end, as usual, with Councilmember Krupa.
Okay. Well, it's been busy. Let me go through this. Story time tomorrow at the library. 3:30, story time at the library tomorrow. And Kathy is doing it, and the invitation is still open to all council members and staff members to be part of the story time. Let's see, what else? League of California Cities general membership meeting is March 10th, and it will be in Corona. RTA Riverside Transit meeting is on Thursday. The Hemet San Jacinto Watermaster meeting was yesterday, and we approved a resolution for a new property owner to actually intervene in the stipulated judgment. And I was reelected chair, and we welcomed Joe Grindstaff as the new representative from EMWD. WRCOG reappointed me to the Transportation Committee for SCAG. And then there's RCTC. At the meeting on, actually, Thursday and Friday workshop, several things that came up, had a lot of information, and one of the things was the mid-year projections and revisions on Measure A funding, and also the fiscal year projection for 25-26. And while everything is slowing down slightly, we did not make any mid-year reductions, and we're tightening our belt for 25-26. But through that, on Thursday afternoon, one of the things that we voted on at the work study was the approval to advertise innovative financing feasibility study for the State Route 79 realignment project. We've looked at the total cost on it, the cost of the segments, and I will tell you one of the things that came out in the staff report, that was when this project was first presented and going for an EIR, the estimated cost was $123 million. The cost today is $1.4 billion, and we still don't have a shovel in the ground. So this feasibility study will look at different ways of financing, whether it's truck toll lanes, whether it is car toll lanes, whether it is some type of going after additional grants, expanding the style of the road. The current plan includes bus lanes and pedestrian lanes and horse lanes, and if you go for transit, you're more likely to get a grant to fix a road if you're including transit in it. So it was an interesting thing. We got done with the staff presentation, and it came rather abruptly, and I was going to make the motion to approve it, and there's 26 cities that have to also agree to this. When it ended, I was lost in thought on something, and I didn't say anything, and luckily another city, and I don't know which city it was, made a motion to approve, and then another city seconded it, and it was unanimous. So everybody in Riverside County understands the importance of getting Highway 79 done. The sooner the better. But right now, the way it's standing, even if we get the money, they're saying it's not going to be complete till 2024. I'm sorry, 2042. So plan to live a whole lot longer, everybody, because we're all going to be here when it finally opens. But that was one of the really interesting things. And then yesterday at Western Projects, we approved a study to look at the interchange of I-10 and the 79. So everything that goes along with the realignment of 79 through our valley and connects to Lambs Canyon ultimately becomes a chokehold up in Beaumont at the 10. So we approved funding to go to a study for that. So there's going to be a lot of studying going on, but the feasibility study is going to include the city, the surrounding cities, the cities along the 79 corridor, which is Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee, Hemet, San Jacinto, and Beaumont. So it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a lot of community input, and we'll see where that one all goes and when it comes back to us sometime in 2026 when the study is done. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Lodge?
I've got nothing really going on at the moment, except for I've got to get together with the city manager on the youth program and see what we get going on that. Sooner the better. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for the applications.
Councilmember Males?
That'd be me. League of California Cities 2025 sponsored bills. I'm not going to read them all, but there's 14 here. If anyone wants to see them, I think you'd find interest in them because they're dealing with planning. Yeah, some of them. Cal City's Riverside County Division meeting is March 25th. At 5:30 to 7:30 at Eagle Glen Golf Club in Corona. Riverside County Transportation Committee, the I-15 Smart Freeway pilot project construction has commenced on an 8-mile stretch of northern I-15 between Temecula and Murrieta. This project aims to implement advanced traffic management systems to enhance traffic flow and reduce congestion. So anyone traveling that route will be happy when it's complete, but stay off it now until it's complete. RCTC 7, we don't need to talk about that one. RTA Board of Directors has unanimously elected Riverside City Council member Steve Hemingway at its chair for 2025. In this role, Hemingway will guide agency policies, priorities, and represent RTA at the public events. And nothing for WRCOG, CDBG. We went through the CDBG funds and allocation of funds, so that's good. Cleanup Graffiti Ad Hoc Committee, save the date, Hemet Beautiful, a community day of service. Mark your calendars for the second annual Hemet Beautiful and a community, darn, I gotta slow my talking down with my brain here. Well, here we go. So Saturday, April 26, 2025, from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Join your neighborhood or your neighbors, local organizations, and city staff in giving back to our community through a citywide cleanup effort. Volunteers will participate in projects such as litter pickup, park beautification, street refurbishment, painting, gardening, and more. It's a great opportunity to make a difference while connecting with others who care about Hemet. You can go to hemet.gov/Hemet Beautiful to get more information on it. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick.
All my meetings are on Monday, so RCA Executive Board, and WRCOG are all on Monday, so I'll have reports at the next meeting. I don't have anything else to report, but I was approached by a resident asking about we used to have a community outreach committee, and I was wondering if maybe looked like it was something that Carly was on. I'm not familiar with it, but there's like some agendas that are up on the city's website. But I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit further. It seems like the community is definitely paying a lot more attention, and so if we can help be more transparent, and if we can find out a little bit more about what the original vision was for this community outreach, and maybe look at reviving that, is, providing that as an outlet for our community to find additional information. I'd like to explore that, and that's all I have.
Thank you. I attended the Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency meeting last week. Our chairman was Michael Vargas, but he decided to step down because he is the mayor of another city and he has a lot of outside engagements. So Joseph Morabito will assume the role of chair for the remainder of 2025. And I was nominated and elected to serve as the vice chair for the remainder of the year. So, and I like this group because it's plants, it's animals, and it's a lot of fun, and they do a lot of good work with our endangered species, and they also have 1 or 2 burn days a year. And the thing with the Stevens kangaroo rat is they like half cover vegetation, but they also like half bare ground. So what they do is they invite CAL FIRE to come out on those burn days, and CAL FIRE gets to do training, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. So they collaborate with CAL FIRE on these needed burn areas for the kangaroo rat. And they're also partnering with some of the military bases now for, like, example, Camp Pendleton, they're doing some work with now. They have a partnership with the San Diego Zoo now. So they're getting to even branching out more and, trying to educate people and save our little varmints. The Business Outreach Ad Hoc Committee, there have been several ribbon cuttings recently. Last Friday, the Chamber of Commerce had a golf tournament at Saboba. It was their one big fundraiser that they have every year. And they had a great turnout. There were a lot of sponsors. They had a full flight of golfers. And our economic developer, Ben Sandoval, and his intern Maya were there, and I was there. And it was a blast. We had a good time. So I think everybody had a really good time, and it was for a really good reason, so that was good. So that is the end of my report. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Males, thank you for your profile of Hemet Beautiful. Our website features how you can sign up on that now, so we do invite people to sign up for Hemet Beautiful. That day of service is April 26th. Also want to mention that tomorrow we're celebrating with a ribbon cutting at the Hemet Auto Mall. So we're inviting the community to celebrate with us. There'll be some swag and refreshments. Looks like a sunny 83 degrees. Let's not share that with anyone too far away from California, or we'll sell more houses, I guess, quicker. But 83 degrees in February, beautiful day tomorrow. The Economic Development Manager is also the lead behind our inaugural 2025 Hemet Regional Economic Summit. That's going to be held in this room on March 20th at the Hemet Public Library. And I believe the Economic Development Manager has also talked me into at least walking a 5K at one of these runs out at Diamond Valley Lake. It's the Bedrock Valley Trail Run and Gravel Ride. It's being held over the weekend of April 5th and 6th, and so that should be a lot of fun. And you can find all of that on city updates, which people can subscribe to on our city website.
Mayor, can I say one thing? I forgot all
Yes.
about something.
I did
Actually,
too.
I don't have my...
I did too, so you can, and then I will.
Oh, okay, thank you. If I could have the Chief Webb, right, come up real quick? I don't have my city phone. I have all my information on this event that I went to on Sunday, so I know Chief Webb.
The mustard.
The muster, yeah, it was so incredible. And if you can speak a little bit about it, Chief, I'd appreciate it, because I had a great time there with my granddaughter, and we loved it. So,
thank you very much, Councilmember Males, City Council, Deputy Chief Ryan Webb. What the council member is referring to is this past Sunday we had the second inaugural CSFA Explorer Muster. I don't have the exact numbers on the number of teams that we had participate this year. The city of Hemet had 2, so our Explorer program has grown from a point where we only had 6 or 7 individuals to now having over 30. So we had enough to actually staff 2 different teams that participated. And the muster included agencies all up and down the state. They would come, they'd participate in different events, and then they would compete against other Explorer groups for the coveted trophies. Have very large first, second, and third place trophies. So unfortunately, we did not get one of those trophies this year, but I'm confident that we will be able to next year.
well, you guys took second when I was there. I saw you on the rolling up of the hoses.
We did go to some of the events, but overall, we didn't score enough to beat the Riverside folks.
And I have it on my Facebook website and Instagram if anyone wants to see the video. It was exciting. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, Santa over there is agreeing, so thank you.
It's a great opportunity, and it was one of those things that kind of after COVID, these Explorer musters had kind of fizzled off, and they took a little bit to reboot. But luckily, we are fortunate enough to have that one here in our backyard at Ben Clark Training Center.
Yeah.
There's also one up in El Dorado Hills, I believe, somewhere up in Northern California.
I seen Newport Beach there. I seen Vernon or Laverne and Hemet and Paris. Everyone was there. But thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And actually, it's like unfortunately, I was under the weather and I couldn't come this year, but I went last year, and it's inspiring to see young men and women, young kids out there just working so hard as a team and being focused on public safety. You know, I always say, like, when I was their age, I definitely wasn't doing anything like that, but it really is an inspiring event and makes you excited for the future. This is what these people are going to be protecting us.
And I have my 2024 shirt I wore that day, but I had my jacket on. But I didn't get a 2025, just to let you know.
We'll make sure you get one, sir.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. I did forget to mention the Ramona Bowl. So the Ramona pageant is going to happen again this year. It will be the last weekend in April and the first 2 weekends in May. And it should be a great show once again, so we want you to spread the word and have your friends, relatives, neighbors, everybody come out for this absolutely wonderful historic play that Hemet is known for and loves for generations. So please come and support the Ramona Bowl and the play. And I'm going to ask the city manager just to go over a few of our future agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor. So on our discussion calendar at the next meeting, we'll hold a workshop our first budget workshop of the year. So we're anticipating starting that before the 6 p.m. meeting with a special workshop. We will also be bringing you a lobbying and advocacy agreement for consideration, as well as a city branding agreement to move forward on city branding. We're also going to incorporate some training on emergency preparedness, so you'll receive a presentation on emergency preparedness as well.
Thank you. Any other comments? There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned to the next City Council meeting on March 11th, 2025. Thank you for joining us tonight.